Aloha, Ohana, welcome. Today I've got Mrs. Tilton here with us. This is somebody that I used to see regularly Monday through Friday when I used to be conscious of my waist size. Now I don't see her, but I'm still conscious of my waist size, and she gladly reminds me of it every time I see her. But today we're not talking about my waist size. We're here to talk about some of the things that she's into that I think you all should be aware of. And the reason why I'm bringing her here and all of the other people that come onto my podcast is because in one way or another, I've connected with them in a way that I think is so valuable that I want to share my experiences with these individuals to the world. So without further ado, we have Mrs. Lisa Tilton.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here today.
You're very welcome. So we both, I fought more traffic than you today. Adversity, it makes it more valuable. So it turned out to be a great morning, even though it was a rough start for me. But I'm happy that you're here. So let's talk about you, because I'm tired of talking about myself.
Really?
Yeah, I'll get my second wind here in a second.
But because my mom was a single mom, we actually had a rough life where I actually missed the bus going to school the first couple of days at Kamehameha. So my tutu, who was pretty prominent in the Hawaiian community at the time, she made a couple of calls to Kamehameha, and, she did what she could to make sure that I was secure. So I actually ended up becoming a boarder. So I lived up on campus from 7th grade.
Really?
Yeah. So from my basically the first week of school, I ended up becoming a boarder because it was just easier. My mom, she didn't drive, so we were walking up to the bus stop, catching a city bus at 5 a.m. and I just was not waking up at that time. So became a boarder, graduated. And then just school wasn't really for me. I just wasn't a very good student, studious wise. Plus just being in a kind of rough childhood, I went straight to work.
Talk about boarding. How was that? I've spent my time boarding in different situations. Sometimes it can be fun and interesting and exciting because you're around your peers. And it's almost like going to college for the first time in some situations. But how was your experience with that? And that's not much of a preparation transition period there at all.
No, not at all. But I knew that it was in the best interest for me because otherwise I would have not graduated from there. I probably would have ended up going to King Intermediate. But it's kind of a culture shock because you go up there and you're living with, a bunch of 12 and 13-year-old, individuals. You all don't know what you're doing, right? They all came from the neighbor island, majority of them. They feed you, right? You still go to the dining hall and things of that sort, but you're having to wash your own clothes. You're having to make sure your bed is made every day before you go. You're having, they check these things. It's not like at home where your kids leave the blanket unfolded or even their clothes hanging around. They would do checks after you would go ahead and check out and go to class.
Almost militant, but it sounds like those are the life skills that some may be missing anyway.
Absolutely.
Right?
And it definitely makes you a lot more independent.
Yeah.
And I truly do appreciate it. I look back on that time and I am very grateful for having to have gone through that because it definitely put structure into my life in that form, right? And some people don't have that at home. So coming to this environment and, we had dorm advisors and they were very loving. They took care of us. We still keep in touch with some of them. But being a boarder, again, it gives you a lot. It makes you independent. You have lifelong friends. I mean, there's a bunch of us. For me in the very beginning, it was kind of rough because they all got the orientation together, right? And I'm coming in like a week or two later. They're like, who are you? You're a goofy looking girl. You talk fast, you're loud, whatever it may be.
You always talk fast then. Okay, I got it.
So, and I feel bad because when I get passionate, I talk even faster. Yeah. So, but you become friends with these individuals and we still keep in touch. And so I've made some of my best,
lifelong friends.
Yeah. And to see them and just see where we are in life now and how we're taking what we learned up at Kamehameha in the dorms and then just instilling that into our kids and the next generation. I think that's so important. It's definitely changed over the years from the structure that it was when we grew up, but definitely a lot of fond memories there.
That's good. I think about that too. Like, I wish I had gotten into the military. Well, let me rewind on that. I always believed that everything happens for a reason, and what was meant to happen happened because it happened.
Right.
So, although I would have liked to have gotten into the military, but they just didn't appreciate my driving abstract, was very extensive. I was a skilled driver, okay. Yeah, but nobody appreciated it at the time. But that doesn't mean that I can't, learn those life skills along the way. Who knows? Maybe I wouldn't be in the position I am today, right? I'd be somewhere else. But the one thing that I was always envious of growing up is I wasn't raised in my culture, our culture. Okay. I was raised in a household where it was business, but it was the Japanese side of the family. So there wasn't much emotion and culture there for the modern day Japanese household. It's just business and making a living and surviving, right? But the emotional, the family dynamic is really broken on that side of it. But the one thing that I did really want was I wanted to go to Kamehameha. So my mom actually tried to get me in when I was younger, but I didn't get in. But I did get into St. Louis. So right on that same time. So I ended up going to St. Louis at that time. But I learned a lot there too.
Right.
But having moved around a lot, I don't have that lifelong core of group that we went up to elementary or even high school because I moved around a lot. So, but you still keep in touch with all of them. You're pretty tight to this day.
Yeah, there's a core group of those. We were in the dorms together. And actually our class as a whole tends to be fairly close. They just had a trip to Las Vegas to celebrate. I mean, I know I'm okay with my age, but I'm about to be 50. And so our class went up and a bunch of them celebrated the 50th. But yeah, my core group, we tend to get together for the holidays or just birthdays and just to celebrate. But it's good, right? Like you share what we learn. We laugh about all the things that happened back in the day. Because again, you have to wash your own clothes. You had to, figure out snacks. Like weekends, you had chores and stuff. And so we laugh about what we thought might have been punishments or things, but it really just groomed us into
life lessons.
Yeah, and then, people are under the impression that, oh, you went to Kamehameha, so you're fully, involved with your culture and stuff. And that's not necessarily the case either, right?
Talk about that, yes.
I believe they tried, right? And there's certain classes that you could take. Hawaiian language was optional, right? It wasn't mandatory. But of course, Hawaiian culture was, right? So I think they probably could have pushed the envelope there a little bit more, but I think that's what's coming to life now. Right?
No,
back in the 90s or in the 80s, it wasn't. And I know when we graduated, a lot of my classmates went to UH and they started to further, their
Hawaiian studies.
Absolutely, and the language, and and it's funny because a lot of them changed their name. They didn't change their name, but they now go by their middle name, right? The Hawaiian name. And I'm like, no, you are X, and they're like, no, I'm, and I'm just like. I just have a hard time, right? I still call them what I knew them in elementary, but I think it's great. And I really wanted to, I took Hawaiian language, but for me, grammar and English, it's a difficult subject for me. I have run-on sentences and things of that sort, and I'm very transparent, and I self-reflect all the time, right? So I know where my shortcomings are.
Yeah.
But when I took Hawaiian language, I didn't do well. I struggled with, noun, pronoun, adjective, just the way that they try to teach you and what goes before what, because it's a different...
Is it... You took Hawaiian language at Kamehameha?
Yes, and I failed.
Do you think it was the way that you were taught there versus maybe if you took that education somewhere else, like at UH or something?
No, I think we had
just the language itself.
Yeah, I think we had one of the best kumus there. Kumu era was there, and I just think it was just my lack of just regular English and that type of setup to then have to relate to it. But I did great in Japanese. But
so you like the literal ones, right? The literal languages where one word means something specific.
I'm very literal.
Yeah.
I think you know that.
Yeah.
And so therefore I had a difficult time, but I wish I did, right? I wish I could have, because I think it's such a beautiful language and I hear it. And my son went to St. Louis and he took 4 years. I was so proud of him, and it's still not full. It's accepted, but I don't think people appreciate it, and I don't think they celebrate it enough. So at times I think he was pulling away.
Not as proud of
right.
it, yeah.
And I'm like, and it was during COVID. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I'd be like around the corner trying to listen to his Zoom class with his kumu, right? Like, you know, just trying to be proud, and then he'd like talk soft. But I think just immersing ourselves in the culture, I think I'm so happy and grateful of where we are, you know, going. I just don't think we were there at the time which I was at Kamehameha. And I don't know where they are today either, because I don't have a child in this school. But culturally, I wish that they instilled a little bit more to kind of force that on us, because you know, we're beneficiaries.
It was forced and lost.
Yeah.
It was forced our people were forced away from using it in everyday language. And same for myself. I tell myself, like, okay, life goals, I want to be able to olelo, Hawaii, but I just haven't made it a priority, right? Like anything else. So it's nobody else's fault but mine. But I love hearing my little nephews and cousins speak.
Yeah.
And I have no shame to ask them, okay, tell me what that meant.
What did it say?
Yeah, you can call me uncle if you can tell me what that meant.
But yeah, I think it's just amazing to listen to and just to hear them, especially from the younger generation, right? Like, I think it's music to your ears.
Yeah, especially because it's coming back to life. They're going to perpetuate it more than we would have, but we can support them in it now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's this, as you know, I'm big on social media.
Yes.
And there's this one, I would say kid, just because of the age gap. But and he's very eclectic. He's got a personality. I just came across some of his content, but he's actually putting out educational content about different locations on Oahu, the different battles, the different chiefs, and all this stuff. And I'm like, I just learned more from you on your social media than I did from my family.
Yeah.
And had I spent more time with some of my family, like my auntie, she's my she's my piko, and she's real like kumuhula and whatnot, but they're on the Big Island, and you know, here is where the opportunities are on Oahu.
Right.
So I try very hard to immerse myself in that as much as I can, and then kind of make that a priority of my outreach and my work in my life as much as possible. And then hopefully my kids one day will be proud of it too, because it's a cultural difference. My ex-wife is from the mainland, right? So there's no appreciation or push for our culture. But now that I'm older, I just can't get enough of it.
Right.
Yeah. So is that what drove you to go and get a job at Hawaiian Airlines? Well, I feel like it's one of those things, like, it's kind of a badge of honor. Like, I work for Hawaiian Airlines, right? I went to Kamehameha schools. I work at Hawaiian Airlines. Like, I'm on that.
But I'm not a flight attendant. That's the difference.
That's because they're like, oh, she talks way too much to be on the plane. They'd be like, what can I get you to drink? Oh, no.
I think I said, put your seat up, please. Just kidding. Actually, I worked for most local companies. I started at Bank of Hawaii, working, so, you know, local roots there. And then I went to actually Hawaiian Telecom, when Hawaiian Telecom was still locally
what were you doing over there?
So I was there for 18 years. I was able to, like...
I think we talked about this for a little while.
Yeah.
Because that's how you know my cousin's wife, right?
Correct. And your cousin.
Yeah.
I worked with both of them.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes. And so that was, you know, back in the day, you were told, you know, get a job, stay there forever, especially here in Hawaii. Right. Great union job started off at, right? Local company. You're going to retire in 30 years. You'll be fine.
Shipyard, Matson, they all follow, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, I was like, okay, I got this. And I was going on like about 15 years. And so I worked in multiple different areas. I really loved it there. I love the people. I'm still good friends with many of them there. And it's just, you know, you get to a point, and the way that I am is I want to leave something better than what I got it, but I also want to continue to contribute. You know, there are jobs that a lot of people can just, you know, they can do with their eyes closed and their hands behind their back. And I'm just not wired that way. Not that it's better or anything. People sometimes think I'm crazy because I just want to go, but I'm just not comfortable just being there. right? And so I just felt that
Not just collecting a paycheck.
no, I get bored, and so I just felt that I did my time, right? I made amazing friends. I contributed back to the community, to the organization, and then I was looking for something else. Did another stint. Actually, I was at Pro Service for 2 years.
Stint sounds like a jail sentence.
And then I made my way to Hawaiian Air, and I always wanted to work for a local company, and I thought, Hawaiian Airline, I totally believe embodies that, right? I think we give back to the community. We're prominent in what we do. We're one of the largest, employers for that. And so I wanted to just retain that. And also, yes, and I said this in my interview, my kids are about to go to college at the time. My daughter was
flight benefits.
Right. My daughter was going to go play, college volleyball, and I wanted the opportunity to go and see her. And so it just fit hand in hand. And so, yeah, I definitely enjoy it there. I don't want to be there forever, right? But I want to be able to retire there and give back and contribute with knowledge I have that I took from Hawaiian Air, right? Because I worked for a union workforce. I did project management, technicians, things of that sort, and take that, what I know there, infuse it into what we do at Hawaiian Airlines, because there's a lot of things that we do that are similar. Yes, it's aviation, but I mean, running a business, right?
There's business like models and like formulas that can translate to any industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I like that, right? I like what I do. I like the department that I'm in. And so
what department are you in now?
So I do organize operational resource planning. And so we do like staffing for some of the different departments, and I like it because
she can get you guys jobs. Anybody call me up, we're gonna hook you up. Auntie Lisa, she got the ins, okay?
No, Auntie Lisa has high standards, so if you're not gonna come to work every day and bust your butt, do not ever use me on your resume.
No worry, I'm gonna weed you guys out, okay? Only the cream of the crop's going that far.
But it's like we analyze what the staffing needs are, right? And so I like it because we can push the envelope that says, what do we really need versus also understanding the operational impact. It says, no, they might actually need assistance here or there. And with my history, my background, and I'm able to provide that insight, which is what I like, right? I have no college degree. I didn't go to college. I had to work right out of high school. And so I think just pounding the pavement and getting that experience just really gives me just a different level of insight. And like I said, I get passionate about whatever it is, and then I'm just going to continue to do that. So
I think maybe it's a generational thing. You strike me as somebody who's got good problem-solving skills, and I would consider myself, keen on that as well. There's a lot of people, maybe it's the younger generation, they just don't know how to... I mean, you guys are the ones that invented Google, you know what I mean? Like, that wasn't our thing, but... I can figure something out.
Yeah.
I can ask the right questions. You can YouTube everything nowadays. So it's not that hard, but shifting and pivoting in a time where there's, maybe some chaos or what have you, and trying to figure out how to weather that storm, it just seems like it's such a hard thing for people to do nowadays.
Yeah, and some of it's grit, I think, at the end of the day, like just how we were raised, right? What do they call us? Latchkey kids or something of that sort, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think some of the expectations, and not that it's right, wrong, or indifferent, right? It's just, that's just how it was. So I think it just gave us just that little edge.
Yeah.
And some of it is proving ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I have that chip on my shoulder, like, I know I don't have that degree. And, I'll have people look at me or like, really? Okay, let's go there.
But now it's more, I guess, not only socially acceptable, but I think it's for a lot of people it can be the better path. It's kind of like I had severe ADHD growing up. I didn't learn well the way that the school systems are designed. I'm an intelligent kid. Right. To this day, I'm still an intelligent kid. But I didn't fit their metrics,
structure.
of how they were grading me,
right,
so to speak. But even the way that they were teaching, it was different now. So I think now there's more of an acceptance that people learn in so many different ways.
Yes.
Now, I didn't go to college either. It's school of hard knocks. You just go after grind and figure out what it was. So it's that is a level of, I think, experience that maybe is kind of unique, maybe to our generations.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
kind of go through, their strengths and weaknesses of what's available to them or what challenges they're facing during that era and whatnot. Okay, so you're at Hawaiian,
Yes.
and where do you go from here? What happens now?
So I still stay at Hawaii,
Okay.
but with that, so I've always had something part-time, right? I just felt, like I said, I don't want to necessarily stay still, and don't interpret it that I don't spend time with my family or anything like that.
Oh no, you drag them along.
It's like-
I know. Yeah, hey, mom's gonna go do this. So are you. Like they know already.
but they learn from it, right? They get, I mean, they get to see what it's about, right?
Yeah.
But some people are like, wait, you just work too much. Absolutely not, because I want to do better for them than what I had. And no fault, my mom, absolutely amazing, lovely woman, right? I wish I could be half the woman that she was, right?
Best she could with what she had.
Absolutely, right? But I want to make sure that my kids are not going through such a difficult time either. And even if it means I'm doing a little bit more now to give them slightly better. So yeah, I've always had something, right? At one point I had my real estate license, you know what I mean? I'm trying to balance that with Hawaiian Tel. But now, what I do, right? I also found time to be able to be a licensed life insurance agent and a retirement specialist. I just felt that at the time in which I started to learn about it, it was really relevant. It was during COVID, right?
Yeah.
We had a lot of people that we knew, they were passing away from COVID, right? And this is not political, whatever spectrum you sit on with all of that, but they're passing away and they weren't protected. Right? Families were then struggling. We always struggled, but even more, right? People lost their jobs. People had reduced income because we are a state that relies on tourism. So a lot of people weren't getting paid. So you had that in addition to the financial hardship. And so just learning about what that could do and how that could help families, that's kind of where I started to put my energy into. So I do this I do Hawaiian Air during the day and then at night and weekends, and every other minute in the day I possibly have, I will learn and educate individuals about what life insurance and the tools that we have at our fingertips can do for them. So that's really where we go from here.
And so I think so many people will kind of have that same initial reaction, like life insurance, like, oh, like you're trying to sell me something, right? Okay.
Stigma.
No, yeah, right. And what is there's an abbreviation for your company that you work with?
So we work for a marketing company, PHP, People Helping People. So
is it Pretty Hawaiian People? What?
Pretty Hawaiian People.
We
actually call it for the locals.
Pretty Hawaiian. What people helping Polynesians?
Polys helping polys. That's actually what we call it here. But we're in 49 states and in Puerto Rico. But for the local clientele, even some of the Samoans and stuff that we help with, we call it polys helping polys, and it resonates really, really well, because that is a community, and that we want to be able to just help a little bit more than the others, because we may have not had access to some of this information, and that's really what it is.
The exposure to it, right?
Absolutely, and just breaking it down, right? And just like talk story, right? It's not something that we should be scared of, but
no, it's not. It's not a taboo, right? or kapu. It's I think just through the generations, just kind of like how we couldn't speak our language at one point, right? It was just something that went unsaid.
Correct.
There was a point where life insurance was very prominent in the financial sector, right? And I think like everything else, it has its place as long as you're matched up correctly. Right. I remember your journey, letting me know when you first got started in it. I was like, okay, Tita, I'm going to sit back and watch you for a little while.
We see. You're still going to be doing this in a year. 3 years going.
Right. And I'm proud. And I'm happy for you and proud of you. And that's why you're sitting here today.
Yes.
And so tell me about your journey when you first started. How does that look as far as just becoming your own licensed agent? And you're doing bigger things now. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, when we first started, I actually just saw a friend post something on social media, and it was during COVID, and, a lot of things were happening in the community. We're like, what's going on? And come to find out, she was actually delivering a death benefit. So it was a check. And it just caught me, off guard a little bit, because I want to help the community. I want to educate, and it wasn't, the amount of the check that she was contributing, I thought it was like a donation, right? But it was due to the fact that somebody had passed, and it was a life insurance policy. So she just shared a little bit more about me. And then I started to realize, so when my mom had passed away, military, But she had no life insurance. And when my dad passed away, I was 6, no life insurance. So it takes me back, and it was bringing back memories where I grew up in the system. My mom, we were on welfare, food stamps, all of that. We had nothing else. You know, my mom was working, but we were poor. And if only my father had a life insurance policy, my life may have been different. My mom may have not struggled, you know, because
was he active duty when
he was retired after 30 plus years.
Oh, and they don't have any insurance policy benefit?
So it's just like a lot of other employers. You are protected while you're there for a portion. And when you retire, you may or may not be able to carry it over. At times, your premiums may go up and or the death benefit goes down. Or sometimes you can't even take it at all.
Wow.
So, you know, he had none for whatever the reason was. He had none, right? And then, so we lived that life. And so that just kept on bringing me back. So when she was explaining to me what it could do, it was just triggering me, right? Like, I need to go out there and help. I need to go out there and educate people. And although my husband and I had a policy, we didn't know the extent of it, right? We knew, okay, we had a house when we were younger. Let's make sure we're protected. We never re-looked at anything since we had kids.
Yeah.
So it just started to bring that up. And so I started to ask her a bunch of questions, and then come to find out, I was just going to go on my own. I was going to kind of like what I did with real estate. Like, where can I go? Where can I get licensed? Figure it out. And
I'm going to do this myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she's like, no, like we have this program where we can walk you through getting licensed, making sure that you're fully comfortable and that, you know, you're capable of getting out there and doing it on your own. Because this is not something that you just want to, oh, I can get my license and I can go ahead and offer services. No, you have to have a full understanding, right?
Yeah, there's so many different products and
Absolutely.
fitting
the goals of your
clients.
clients. Yeah. Exactly. And you don't want to take it lightly. And I'm not one like that anyways. Like I would die like on my character and things of that sort. So I knew that I needed to get the right information. And so I went through the program, and at first I was like, I'm just going to be a life insurance agent. I'm just going to help the world. I'm going to educate people, right? Yep. And I was like, yeah, and I'm getting out there. And of course, my friends were the first ones I reached out to help me, you know, do this business. And, you know, really at the end of the day, you know, some people think like, oh, you're just doing it for money, and you got it wrong. Like the byproduct, and I always get emotional about this stuff. So I apologize.
Defensive?
No, I get emotional because the byproduct is the income, right? It's really showing people what it can do for you to prevent the situation that I was in, right? And so we ended up, I could see like the people that we were affecting and impacting, right? And the people that we were protecting, that at sometimes you're like, oh, they must be taken care of, right? Because, you know, there are high maka people out here who you think that they're all good. Yeah. And actually, when you start to break it down and you have conversations with them, they may not be. They may be missing a piece of the puzzle.
I think the high maka ones, the ones that are, I think anywhere you go, any culture, any area, the ones that are loudly, outwardly, like, maybe more than necessary.
Vocal, yeah.
Those are the ones that need
the most.
Exactly. Yeah. And maybe it's an outwardly cry, but it just some pride got mixed up in it. And
absolutely, or they've got like walls built up, and I get it, and I understand, and those are the ones I want to break it down, because I want them to know, like, if you would just be open to a little bit of education, you know. And so that's what started. And so my husband and I just continued to build the business. And at first, and we'll laugh about this, because at first he's like, you're crazy, you go do that. I'm like, babe, like, no, like, you gotta do this with me. And you know, he coaches football, right? Yeah. He's an amazing quarterback coach. And so he's like, you got this. And then he would see me.
You can quarterback that one, babe.
Yeah. He was like, you got that. I got on the field. You got over here. I'm like, okay. But, you know, we started to do really well, and he just started to see the benefit. And then so he joined in, and through that effort, we were able to,
did he quit his job?
No. He's still at his job, and he still coaches, but he still supports me in this, and it's us now, right? And so we were able to create an agency, and so we became brokers. We are co-owners and equity owners of PHP Agency, which is now partnered with Integrity Marketing, which is the largest marketing company out of Texas, privately owned. So, you know, that's big, right? Like if you could have owned a part of Google or anything else back in the day when it was a privately held company. So for us, that's huge, because we do this on educating about financial services, but we're also doing this to create a legacy for our kids, right? That generational that generational wealth of being a co-owner of a company, that's huge, you know. And so that's what we're also trying to pass down to them. So so we run an agency out of Kailua with one of our partners.
So you're saying agency and marketing, and what does that have to do with life insurance?
Well, it has everything to do with it, right? Because we have to be able to get out there and show individuals that one, we are reputable. We're here to protect you. Two, the marketing part of it is everybody markets. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, like you're going to listen to them. You see all these commercials, right? And so marketing is because we have to show you that we're here, that we're somebody that's tangible. You can come and talk to us. You don't have to call on the phone. Like we're local. You're able to get that one-on-one information from us. And I'm here too, right? To market myself as well, because I'm not just the person that people would call before because their bill was wrong at Hawaiian Telecom, or people who call now because we're charging $35 a bag for your check-in. Like, but people call you for that, but they don't call you to help them with their financial situation. But that's really so much more important. Let me help you with that versus getting your bag on the plane.
But in a backwards way, though. They call you when they feel like they're getting overcharged.
Correct, but at $35.
Or they don't want to pay for something, right? They want to try to cut corners, save some money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I want to help them on something that's so much more valuable, right? I want to protect them. I want to protect their wealth. I want to protect themselves. The financial hardship that they could potentially face because they're not prepared, or just even for their kids or the next generation. Because I don't think people realize the burden we put on. Like my mom did not mean this at all, right? She thought, really, military, retired, I'm taken care of. I'm going to be buried at Hawaiian Memorial. Well, after going through that, so she passed away Christmas Eve 2009. So the holidays always is like a wreck for me. But going through that, all they cover is your burial plot.
Yeah.
We still needed to have my mom picked up. We still needed to do the cremation. Yeah. But so she didn't mean any harm. She thought, based on what she was told, that everything's taken care of. To now educate people that no, actually you're not. There's another way in which let's prepare you, because you may be affecting the next generation. Because we're doing GoFundMe. We're doing La La on the side of the road. We're doing all these things that are affecting the next generation because you didn't know. So if I can educate people on that says, no, let's figure out another way, so that way the next generation or even the next generation after that is not holding this financial burden because of our lack of education. That's kind of what I want to do. So yeah, it's all of that. And so the marketing, the agency, all of that, we're out of Kailua, local people can come and see us. And what I like is that I can fit this into my job. Like my day job is I'm committed. Hawaiian, I do that. I do that even beyond my 9 to 5, right? But the good thing is when we're available, it's when people need us.
After hours.
After hours, on the weekend. They're like, oh, I'll just call you Monday. I'm like, call me Sunday. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm available when you need me. Don't fit me into, oh my gosh, I only have a 30-minute lunch break.
Yeah.
So I think that part is what I really like, is just being able to, have people know that it's around your schedule. Because we know you guys all have busy lives. We know you folks work. You guys have kids. You folks are, working overtime. Whatever it may be, let us know when you're ready. And that's what I like about it.
Nice.
I know it's a mouthful. Sorry.
Hey, well, I knew what I was getting into when I brought you over here. But this will make up for the months that I've been out of the gym and I don't stop and talk story with you.
True.
So we're catching up right now.
Yes.
So how do you get over that stigma? Like, I mean, I gave you attitude when you're like, I'm going into insurance. I'm like, good luck with that, Tita. See how long you last, right? I mean, because when I got my license, they gave me a script, and it was just so negative. Like, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. That's the reality, and what's gonna happen? And you boil it down. Yes, that's the truth. Yes. But you can put it in a way where it'll affect change in their mindset, so that they understand and see the benefit.
Absolutely.
As opposed to, I felt the company that I signed up with wasn't the right fit for sure, because it didn't have people's best interests in mind. It felt more of a timeshare than it did somebody who cared. So how do you overcome those objections or the obstacles? Because I know you've got people's best interest in heart, right? But how far, or how do you overcome the obstacle, and how far do you take it knowing that this is in their best interest, even though maybe they don't get it yet?
Yeah. No, and it's tough. It's tough. And, always, and me, like, I always wanted to get on the defense, right? Like,
Yeah.
You know, like you already know what they're going to say, right? Because then there's a lot of naysayers, and it truly is just because of lack of education, right? And so I don't fault them for that. But they give us a script as well, and it's because it needs to be duplicatable, right? It's a service in which it can be, but you have to make it your own. You have to customize it. I always speak from the heart, whether or not I'm soft and gentle or I'm at you. It truly is from the heart. Like, so my family, they know. Like, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, how can you not think about this? You know, like you said, 100% of us die.
Yeah.
And who do you want to take care of it? Like, you know, so it depends. It depends on your audience. It depends on your clientele. I think understanding what their goals are, understanding why they might not understand it or why they don't get it. But those that have kids, right, they don't realize it because they're like, I'm just trying to pay my bills.
Yeah.
Living in Hawaii is tough. They're living paycheck to paycheck. Some people are living credit card to credit card.
Yep.
Right. And so it's how do we address that? How do we, like I always tell people, like, open the kimono, see what's in there, and let's just tackle it. Like, maybe getting a policy or protecting yourself, we can't do right away.
I got a bad visual when you said open the kimono. Like, I know what's in the kimono,
Yeah.
okay? But
and I say it at work too, and sometimes people are like, what? I'm like, just like, you know, if we're transparent and we're just open about it, and we're honest, I think once you're there, we can then start working on it.
Yeah.
But if like we were mentioning earlier, if you just hide, put the bills under the carpet, or not even open the envelope.
Just because you hide it doesn't mean it's going anywhere.
No, and it gets worse, right? And it just starts to snowball.
Yeah.
And so I think the way that I address it is I am always honest with people, right? Whether they like, I'm honest, I'm sincere. I truly have their best interests at heart. If they have kids, I, talk to that, right? Like, what would your kids be like? Because I lived through it. And you don't want to live through that, right? Some of them don't realize that. There are others who, they may have no dependents. I have this one who has just him, and then got parents, right? And then siblings. And he's like, oh, I got no wife. Like, I have no kids. I don't have to worry about any of this. And I'm like, okay, but think about this. Your parents are retired. They're living their life, right? If something happened to you.
Before that, yeah.
Who would take care of you? And this is now, because our life insurance, it's transformed. It's not just when you pass. It's if you become critically sick, injured, or ill. People who have heart attack, stroke, things of that sort. There is a way that you could use it now to help relieve some of that financial burden. And so for this individual, I was like, so what happened? Heaven forbid you're in an accident, or stroke or heart attack. Who is going to take care of you? And the answer was like, oh. I'm like, is it going to be your parents who are retired, who are trying to live their best life on that income that they have? And that was like a shocker to him, right? Because up until now, it was like, I don't need to worry about taking care of anybody. If I die, everything's fine. And him realizing, I don't want to be the burden.
But he was financially stable.
He's pretty financially stable. Yeah. But even then, like, are you going to deplete and liquidate all of your funds? And what then happens?
How long does that quality of life last?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, you're okay right now, but what is that length of time? And it made him realize, and he literally was like, oh my gosh, like, you're right. I don't want my mom and my dad to use their retirement to have to take care of me. So it really depends on the situation there. But I face it every single day. And I tell them, right, you pay your car insurance. You don't pray that you get into an accident, right? You pay your medical. You pray that you don't have to use it. And those are things that you don't guarantee are going to take advantage of. You are 100% going to need a life insurance policy.
But those are easier because they're mandatory.
Not necessarily. There are a lot of people who don't have it and they're illegal, right? You have how many people driving out there without car insurance? But you yourself have it because you're making that conscious decision because you're following the law. Yeah. But you're doing it to follow the law. But
I learned my lessons after my 20-page abstract.
Yeah. But who you benefit, you are to some extent protecting you, but you're also protecting the other motorists, right? Yeah. Here, the people who you love and care about the most are the ones that you're not taking care of through a life insurance policy. And it's not just that, 'cause it's not just for death.
Well, because nobody has that delayed gratification, right? That
it's immediate now.
Yeah, I mean, I want, if I'm going to hand over money, I want something tangible now. Correct. I want to see an exchange, an immediate exchange, right? So let's, and because I've been in real estate in one form or another for so long, and we talk about this so many times. Lately, I've been really predominantly in the investment community side of real estate. Okay. So there is, and it's been brought up several times, but are you able to talk about like how, is it an IUL policy?
One of the vehicles, yeah, Index Universal Life, yes.
Okay. Is there a way, and how does that look like? So if we can break that down for the audience, so that they can really understand, like, if they wanted to utilize that now or within the near future, what does it look like to be able to utilize that as far as investing purposes too?
Utilize the cash that's in that account. Right.
So there's both, right? But there's that elephant in the room is that popular one. I think in the people that I surround myself with is it's hard for them. They can't even pay their bills. They're worried about trying to get ahead in life. Yes. So that's why so many people gravitate towards the investing, because it shows them a way to make money now, right? And also how to stay here in Hawaii, owning a piece of property, and that ultimately giving you that sense of security.
But there's still a period of time they have to wait. It's not an immediate.
Right. So that's what I want to do. Like, there's a fallacy there of, I hear people talk about it, but really nobody has broken it down as far as I can see. So can you kind of lay that out there? Like, how does that work? And as far as if you were to use it from an investment standpoint, what kind of time frame and like the realities of it?
Yeah. And so it definitely varies, right? And because at the end of the day, the product itself, it is a life insurance product. And so the life insurance product is the primary benefit. There are other features which allow you to, like you hear, become your own bank, right? BYOB and things of that sort, infinite banking. The life insurance product itself is the tool to get you there. So people still have to become approved for it. So it's not like an investment, or it's not like another account that you can just open up, put money into, let it grow and access. We still go ahead and have to rate you based on your height, weight, right, your health, your age. The life insurance companies still use that as the baseline.
Okay.
So you still have to get a life insurance policy, but the Index Universal Life, it allows cash accumulation.
She's making jabs at my weight again.
No.
She's saying, get back to the gym. I cannot give you a policy, brother. You got to go gym.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm just kidding.
So it's slightly different than investment, right?
Yeah.
Where
there's a pre-approval process.
Absolutely. You still have to qualify for it, right? And so there are ways, and everybody is different because age is a factor, right? The older you are, the cost of insurance is higher. So therefore, what you might have to invest up front is going to be higher to get a better rate of return quicker. I also want to state, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but a lot of people might think, right? It is a medium to long-term solution. So you do have to have years on your side. However, if you've got some investment money that's sitting out there and you want to what we call front load, where you're able to put a larger deposit up front.
It's kind of like pre-funding it or something?
Yes. Yeah. Because otherwise, if you think about it, you're just putting your monthly premiums in, right? So the normal way, the normal policy, you're putting your premiums in, and that's going to accumulate over time. As it's accumulating, you have access to it tax-free. You can take it out in the form of a loan. No taxes on that. You're able to go ahead and increase your amount. You don't have some of the restrictions that you might have, like on a IRA, Roth, or on a 401k.
Is there a typical percentage on that loan associated with taking that loan out?
It varies. Right now, it's between 4 to 5. But I saw somebody just take out from their 401k, and the loan rate is 9.5. On a 401k. But you know what I mean? But some people are doing that, right? They're taking out of their 401k to fund an investment.
Who gets the interest on that loan?
The insurance carrier.
Okay.
But the good part about it is, unlike your 401k, so like if I were to just do compare, you have a 401k, let's say you have 200,000 and you're going to take out 100,000. Your balance is going to decrease to 100,000. You're going to pay that back through your pay period, right? Each pay period. And then, but only your 100,000 is earning interest. On the life insurance side, through an Index Universal Life, through a loan, your actual 200,000 stays intact. So you're actually compounding interest on that full amount, because that loan is against the company. And so that's why you're paying that insurance, you're paying that interest, and so you get that uninterrupted compound interest. So that's really where you start to see some benefits, because that money continues to accumulate. But so you pay your monthly premiums. If you front load it, like we were mentioning earlier, you could have access to that money within a year or two. But it really depends on what you're willing to front load. You're able to then take out a loan against it. You're able to use that tax-free, and then as you're paying that back, that money still remains in your account. So that's really where you start becoming this infinite cycle.
So the cost of that money would be the interest that you're paying to the insurance carrier.
Correct, but you're still earning interest on your funds through whatever index we decide.
So you can actually calculate like your return on investment, or whether or not it's viable or not, option for you or not, if the interest rate that you get from borrowing it is less than
the interest.
on you're accumulating, as well as whatever you're taking the money out for. If that earns you something, then you compounding.
And that rate of return. Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And so the thing is we don't guarantee what the interest rate is on your returns.
Right.
We guarantee no losses.
Yeah.
So unlike other, vehicles that are in the market.
So you're from okay.
Yes, it goes down, your account goes down. Here, your account does not, right? Your account is going to at least be at the rate in which it was prior. So that's where people don't realize that difference. Because me too, right? Before this, when the market went up, I'm like, yeah, but when the market went down, oh my gosh. But the minute it went up a little, I was happy. Yeah. I forgot about the losses that I experienced
prior.
Right, because we're so excited, like you said, about those gains, right? That immediate gratification. But we forgot that we lost 23% last year. Versus being steady. We're up 18, but we never recovered to 23.
Yeah, and people don't realize that you can't, if you lose 23% of your portfolio, getting 23% does not replace that 23 you lost.
Because you're at a lower rate and you have to make up for the loss. Yes.
Yeah.
And so therefore, because insurance, we can guarantee no losses. Because if you front load it properly, and again, based on age, people are able to, again, whether it's a year or two that they can use it, or if they're just putting just like the bare minimum, it may be 7 to 8 years in which they have access. So everybody is different. If you fund it properly up front, which we can structure for them, we can show them when they can start taking those gains out, start using it, use it for an investment property, pay it back, right? And then continue to utilize that for your next property, right? Because at some point you're going to get that cash flow back from whatever you might have. Even people who might want to be able to buy a car, like don't necessarily take out a loan from the bank or don't lease it from the bank. If you fund it properly, and again, there's a certain percentage that we have to work with on each individual, you're able to utilize that now and tax-free. Yeah. And before 59 and a half, unlike your retirement, unlike a 401k, you can access it as long as the cash is in there. Yeah.
I've had a lot of people ask me about mortgage insurance.
Yes.
Although in the mortgage industry, mortgage insurance is typically something that you're paying because you put down less than 20%. So that is the insurance policy that the bank is charging you, right, to protect the lender. Now, what kind of policies are out there that would help in that situation? Like, in case somebody's not able to pay their mortgage, is there something that typically might fit that scenario?
Well, and so they could potentially use the Index Universal Life because that particular one, it's a permanent policy. It's good to the age of 120. It grows cash. So they could take a loan out against that, right? So if for some reason they get into a bind and they're having a difficult time, that's when they could choose to take out a loan enough to be able to pay their bills, but also enough to make sure that premium is getting paid. Okay. So that is a way in which they can go ahead and offset because of that cash accumulation. But we have another alternative where it's not to help pay if they get into a bind financially, but the same way in which we help protect the lender with that insurance that you mentioned, we also highly recommend people to get like a term insurance for the mortgage. Because, for example, Kelly and I are married, right? We have a mortgage of X amount. If something happens to one of us, could one of us afford the rest of the mortgage on our own salary?
Yeah.
Probably not. So therefore,
because you built this life together.
Exactly.
Right.
So therefore, I would get a term policy for 30 years to cover the mortgage, because if anything happened to me, at least I know he would get the funds. He could pay off the house, and then he could at least keep that because that's supposed to be our family house forever.
Is that scenario with him? Because, if he passed away, you're like, I got this. I did it when I...
I just don't want him listening to this and having thinking, she thought I was going to die first. Absolutely not. I want to make sure he's taken care of. And I also want to make sure the house is paid.
Yeah.
And then the kids can take it over, right?
Yeah.
But it also helps with probate, right? If things have to go through that route. People don't realize that there's so much cost that happens when somebody passes away that you may not keep that family house if you don't have the money to pay the taxes.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of things that we solve for.
Well, not just the taxes, but even the division of assets with the family members too, right?
Exactly. Because yes, and that could go on for years.
Yeah.
Right. And that could become very costly. And so it solves a lot of different needs, not just upon death, but you could use it as it's not an investment vehicle because we don't put it into the market, but as, a strategy to be able to help you with your finances and, just become financially free.
And you can have more than one policy at a time?
Absolutely. It's really based on like your worth and, things of that sort.
My self-worth is high.
Yeah. A lot of people want $1 million policy, but we have to be able to afford it as well. And we structure it for them, right?
Yeah. And then, okay, so here's another scenario. I'm recently divorced, but I worry that if something were to happen to either myself or my ex, the lifestyle, because either one of us aren't still providing, although we're separate, we're still providing for the kids, right? Jointly. So am I able, or is she able to take out a policy on me and then vice versa, me on her, with the kids as a beneficiary? Can I pay for that policy to make sure that they're covered? The kids have something to fall back on.
Absolutely. And one, they have to determine that there's an insurable interest, right, between the two. You can't just be like, I just want it on my ex.
I was going to take bets on you know what, I'm going to insure you guys because you look like a good bet.
Right, you know what I mean? So there is like due process that's required there, but absolutely. And not necessarily would I say always is your child going to be the beneficiary, because if they're under the age of 18, depending on what those custodial rights are, it could impact it. So you may want to go ahead and put who either the trust or trustee or even who the custodial parent
So you can actually insure, can I create a trust for them? And then have the policy, the trust be the beneficiary
of the policy.
Ah.
Correct, exactly. Because again, under the age of 18, it's going to go through the courts, to work through that. So it might take a lot longer for them
because it will go to like the next of kin and whoever their custodial award goes to.
Yes. And so there are ways, right? But like my kids are of adult. They're over 18. So yes, they're the beneficiaries of our policy. So it really depends on the age of your child, in which we want to be able to set that up appropriately. And not everybody can afford a trust, right? Not everybody can do some of those things. But who would be that legal guardian in the event of that, right? And they could be like maybe the contingent beneficiary. Yeah. Every situation is different. We really like to work through that. And that's why, you'll see things on social media. Everybody's like, they've got one way to do it or another way. And really, no, you need to customize it. Yeah. It's not something that it's all for none or none for all, whatever it may be, right? You really got to sit down with somebody and understand what are their goals, what is the situation, and how to best customize it. And with our company, we work with over 40 carriers. So I like that because every local is different, right? Some of them, they get high blood pressure, diabetes, like whatever it may be. We actually have carriers that provide coverage for that.
They're more favorable to whatever their health situation might be.
Because they understand.
So like for myself, I was diagnosed with cancer in
I'm so sorry.
2015. But I got it was removed early enough, right? So what's the
likelihood of you being able to get coverage?
Term, yeah, because there's got to be a certain point where I'm safe.
And so I think it depends. One, we have to look at the type of cancer, right? And the duration. I actually have helped a friend. She's in her early 50s, and she had breast cancer. And she's a survivor, and hers was after 5 years. But again, the stigma is, I've got a health condition, I'm not insurable.
Yeah.
Locals, no, let's have that conversation. That's not necessarily the case, or I've had cancer, and people automatically. So I think, right? My daughter was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes, right? At the age of 14. And I had one of my clients like, oh, my son has diabetes. I know he can't get covered. And I was just so grateful to be like, no, actually, you know what? There is a way we can get you coverage. And that's what our job is. Our job is to fight for that. Our job is to work with the carriers that we know that can provide that and get the proper doctor's notes or whatever it may be to provide them that level of support. So not necessarily are you automatically declined. It's something that we should look into, especially if the likelihood of you potentially getting it again in the future, you want to protect yourself now as well as, your kids.
Well, I don't have any.
While you're in remission or stuff. Yeah.
They just cut it out, so they're just like, just chop it off. It's good.
Yeah.
Is there anything else about what you do that you're passionate about that you want to share with the rest of the Hawaiians, Polynesians, and Portuguese out there?
No, just know that there are options. Know that there are resources that can help you. It's free. Our services are free. It's just a sit down, an educational session, no obligation. Don't feel worried about that. Don't take away all the stigmas, because we want to help the next generation. We want to help us, first of all, because our average life expectancy is 85. We're going to be here for a lot longer.
Are you speaking for women or men?
women. So, so we want to be able to...
She got dementia already, you heard that.
We want to help us live the best lives. And if we can change ourselves, our financial situation, and help the next generation, and allow more locals to live in Hawaii or move away or just live the best lifestyle, we have tools and resources. And you're not getting it in college. My daughter just graduated.
Nope.
You're not getting it in college. You're not getting it in high school. So if we can have that conversation, let's have a quick one and let's just see what we can do for you. So just know that your hands are not necessarily shackled. There are tools, but you have to be open-minded to it. And there is a huge community of people out here in all areas that are willing to share, right? Whether or not it's real estate, whether or not it's life insurance, financial services, just be open-minded and break down those walls. Let's have a conversation and just see what we can do for you.
Yeah, my biggest thing is, I mean, you know me in the real estate industry, but financial literacy is more prevalent in my concern for our community. Yeah. So, but there's different ways of going about resolving those issues, right? So, because I come from a real estate background, I see how to connect those and break down those barriers and educate people on how they can get ahead in life through that route. And then that's why, I like and reach out to people such as yourself, because you've got the other routes that might be able to help or add to the layer, right? Yeah. Because this is all like something that we all, you own your home,
yes,
right? So you already have that portion down. So this is just an added layer.
And we have a financial advisor. So just know we complement that. A lot of people are like, I have a financial advisor. I don't know. Actually, their main goal and responsibility is to grow your net worth, right? Ours is to protect it. So we will at times come from two different angles. Okay. But we are just part of the puzzle to help you, right? Whether it's with real estate, whether it's your financial advisor, life insurance advisor, your banker, whatever it may be, you really should have multiple eyes. If you get cancer or you get sick, what is everybody doing? They want a second, third, fourth opinion. But nobody wants a second opinion on their finances because they don't want to address the
they're uncomfortable with talking about it.
Yeah, so let's just break it down. That's really what it is.
Okay, well, we are not uncomfortable talking. Lisa's definitely not. Day one, I knew this about her. So at the ending portion of our conversations, I'd like to talk about gratitude. Yes. So if you can share things that you're grateful for, and we'll leave on a high note.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so, yes, and it is Season of Gratitude. And it's funny because I went to work today and I actually passed out a bunch of goodies and it says Season of Gratitude, right? We have to be thankful. Thankful for friendships like this. Definitely thankful for, and what I'm grateful for is what my mom went through and just, being that glimmer of hope, and no matter what was going on, to see that, and my tutu, but my family, my husband, my two children, they mean the world to me. And I appreciate the small circle of friends that I have. And then, of course, I'm very grateful for my health, my employment, things that just allow me to give back, right? It provides income that we can tithe, we can give back, to the Maui fires, things of that sort, and just help people. But thankful for another day at the gym. Thankful for another breath, but definitely my family and these friendships and your opportunity by allowing me to just be up here and just to share that we can change what's happening out in our community and just make it better than what we were given. So
as I do more podcasts, I worry about running out of things to be grateful for, but listening to you speak, it gives me kind of like little nuggets of, okay, I can be grateful for that too. So mine today would be, although sometimes I have some hard feelings about the way I was brought up, I'm also grateful for the way I was brought up, because through the adversity, I've learned how to overcome different challenges, but also I think it's giving me a unique insight into understanding people in a different way, so I'm grateful for that. And I want to thank you for coming all the way out here, both of us. We'll drive to the other side of the island to talk story.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate this.
You're welcome, and thank you for getting over any type of uncomfortableness. And so I expect to see great things from you on social media and some content, and this is the beginning for you.
And I appreciate you from forcing me out of my box. So thank you.
Good. Okay. We'll continue to push each other in positive directions.
Yes, will do.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.